Good morning, everyone. Something is shifting in your energy field right now, and the timing of you finding this message might not be random. There's a possibility that tonight could mark a turning point in how you see yourself, your situation, or the path that's unfolding in front of you. Not because anything magical is guaranteed to happen at midnight, but because you might be reaching a level of internal readiness that changes everything. If you've been feeling restless, like something is about to click into place, but you can't quite grasp what it is, this could be why you're here right now. Let me share what I'm sensing in the energy around you and why tonight might feel different from other nights you've experienced recently. There's a strong possibility that you've been carrying something heavy for longer than you realized, a story about yourself that no longer fits, a belief about what's possible for you that's been keeping you smaller than you actually are, a fear that's been running your decisions without you fully seeing it. And what I'm picking up on is that you might be approaching a moment of clarity where all of that becomes visible to you in a way it hasn't been before, not through force or effort, but through a natural unveiling that happens when you're finally ready to see what's been there all along. Tonight could be significant because nighttime has a way of stripping away the distractions. When the world gets quiet and you're alone with your thoughts, truth has more room to surface. Things you've been avoiding might demand your attention. Feelings you've been pushing down might rise up. Realizations you've been resisting might finally break through. And if you let them, if you don't immediately reach for distraction or numbing or the familiar patterns that keep you stuck, you might discover something about yourself that changes how you move through the world from this point forward. Drop a if you've been feeling something building beneath the surface. Now, let me be clear about what you won't be the same after actually means, because I'm not talking about some dramatic overnight transformation where you wake up as a completely different person. What I'm sensing is more subtle but potentially more powerful than that. You might not be the same after tonight because you could finally see yourself clearly, because you might stop believing a lie you've been telling yourself, because you could make a decision that you've been putting off, because you might release something you've been gripping too tightly. These internal shifts don't always look like much from the outside, but they change everything about how you experience your life. It's possible that tonight you'll recognize a pattern you've been repeating. Maybe you'll see how you've been giving your power away to people who don't deserve it, how you've been waiting for permission that you never actually needed, how you've been making yourself smaller to make others comfortable, how you've been running from the very thing you need to face. Or maybe you'll finally admit something to yourself that you've been dancing around, a truth about what you actually want, about who you actually are, about what you're no longer willing to tolerate, about where you need to go from here. These moments of honest self recognition can feel uncomfortable. They can bring up grief about time you feel you've wasted, anger about how long you've been settling, fear about what it means to change course now. But they're also deeply liberating because you can't shift what you can't see. And once you see it, really see it, you can't unsee it. You're different after that, whether you want to be or not. What I'm picking up on is that you might be ready for this level of truth, that your soul has been preparing you through everything you've experienced recently to handle what you're about to understand about yourself and your situation. Let me talk about what might be asking for your attention tonight specifically. There could be a relationship that needs honest examination, not just romantic, but any connection where you've been pretending things are okay when they're not, where you've been making excuses for behavior that doesn't align with how you deserve to be treated, where you've been giving more than you're receiving and convincing yourself that's love. Tonight might be when you stop lying to yourself about that, when you admit that you've known for a while that something isn't right, when you give yourself permission to want more, to expect better, to walk away if necessary. Or this could be about your relationship with yourself, the ways you talk to yourself when no one else is listening, the standards you hold yourself to that you would never impose on anyone you care about, the dreams you've been dismissing as unrealistic before you even give them a chance. Tonight might be when you start being kinder to yourself, when you recognize your own worth without needing external validation, when you decide that you're tired of being your own worst enemy. There's also a possibility that this is about fear, something you've been avoiding because it feels too big, too risky, too uncertain, a conversation you need to have, a change you need to make, a truth you need to speak, a boundary you need to set. And tonight might be when you realize that staying where you are, continuing to avoid what needs to be faced, is actually more painful than the temporary discomfort of doing the hard thing. Comment truth if you're ready to stop avoiding what you already know. Let me also talk about what might support you through tonight if these shifts do start to happen. First, create space for yourself. Turn off distractions if you can. Put your phone down for a while. Sit with your thoughts instead of immediately trying to escape them. Let the quiet reveal what it needs to reveal. Second, be gentle with yourself. If realizations come up that are painful or uncomfortable, don't judge yourself for not seeing them sooner. You weren't ready before, you might be ready now. That's all that matters. Third, write things down if that helps you process. Sometimes clarity comes through putting words on paper, getting thoughts out of your head and into physical form where you can actually look at them, examine them, decide what to do with them. Fourth, trust yourself. If something feels true in your body, in your gut, in that deep knowing place, it probably is. Even if your mind wants to rationalize it away or convince you that you're overreacting or making things up, your intuition has been trying to get your attention. Tonight might be when you finally listen. Now, I want to address something important about what happens after moments of clarity like this. The realization is just the beginning. Seeing the truth doesn't automatically change your circumstances. Understanding your patterns doesn't immediately break them. Knowing what you need to do doesn't make it easy to actually do it. What changes after tonight, if these shifts do occur, is your relationship with the truth. You'll know something you didn't know before. You'll see something you couldn't see before. And that knowledge, that seeing, creates responsibility. You can't pretend you don't know anymore. You can't go back to unconscious patterns once they've become conscious. You can't unsee what you've seen. And that's both the gift and the challenge, because now you have to decide what you're going to do with this new awareness. Are you going to honor it, act on it, let it guide your choices moving forward? Or are you going to try to ignore it, bury it, convince yourself it wasn't real? What I'm sensing is that you might be tired of ignoring your own knowing, that you might be ready to finally trust yourself enough to act on what you see, even if it's scary, even if it disrupts your life, even if other people don't understand. Because here's what I'm picking up on very clearly. You've been ready for this shift longer than you've admitted to yourself. You've been outgrowing your current situation, your current patterns, your current version of yourself. And tonight might be when you finally acknowledge that outgrowing and decide to honor it instead of fighting it. Let me talk about what might follow if you do allow these shifts to happen. In the days and weeks after tonight, you might notice that you're making different choices, small ones at first, saying no when you would have said yes before, speaking up when you would have stayed silent, choosing yourself when you would have chosen others' comfort. You might notice relationships shifting. Some people might feel uncomfortable with this newer, clearer version of you. Others might actually respect you more for having boundaries and standards. And you might discover that you care less about managing other people's reactions and more about living in integrity with yourself. You might also notice more internal peace, even if external circumstances haven't changed yet. Because when you stop fighting the truth, when you stop pretending, when you stop betraying yourself to keep others comfortable, there's a relief in that, a coming home to yourself that feels like finally being able to breathe fully. This doesn't mean everything becomes easy. Clarity doesn't erase challenges, but it might mean you face those challenges from a more grounded, more authentic, more self trusting place. And that changes everything about how you move through difficulty. Drop A if you're choosing honesty with yourself over comfortable illusions. Now, let's talk about courage, because what might be asked of you tonight and in the time that follows could require more courage than you think you have. But here's what I'm sensing: you do have it. The courage is already there. It's been building in you through every hard thing you've survived, every time you've gotten back up, every moment you've chosen to keep going, even when it would have been easier to give up. You might not feel brave. Courage rarely feels the way we think it should. It doesn't feel like confidence or certainty. It often feels like fear mixed with determination, like trembling hands doing the thing anyway, like a quiet voice inside saying, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try. If tonight brings you face to face with something you need to address, something you need to change, something you need to release, know that you're capable of handling it. Not perfectly, not without discomfort, but capable nonetheless. And you don't have to do everything at once. Transformation doesn't have a deadline. You can take one small step tonight and another small step tomorrow. And gradually, those steps add up to a completely different path than the one you were on before. What matters is that you start, that you stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan or the perfect version of yourself, that you work with who you are right now and what you can see right now and what you can do right now. Let me also address the possibility that tonight might not feel dramatically different for you, that you might go through the evening and not experience some profound revelation or breakthrough moment. And that's okay too. Sometimes the shifts happen quietly. Sometimes clarity comes gradually rather than all at once. Sometimes you don't realize you've changed until you look back weeks later and recognize that you've been making different choices, thinking different thoughts, showing up in different ways. So if tonight feels ordinary, don't force something to happen. Don't create pressure around needing to have some big transformative experience. Just stay present, stay open, stay honest with yourself, and trust that whatever you need to see, you'll see when you're ready to see it. Whatever you need to know, you'll know when you're ready to know it. Whatever you need to do, you'll do when you're ready to do it. There's wisdom in the timing of things, even when we can't see it while we're in it. As we move toward closing this message, I want to leave you with some anchoring thoughts to carry into tonight. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not failing just because you're still figuring things out. You're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. And if tonight brings clarity that's uncomfortable, if you see things about yourself or your situation that are hard to accept, remember that awareness is always the first step toward change. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge. You can't shift what you won't see. So be brave enough to look, be honest enough to admit what you find, be compassionate enough to hold yourself gently through the discomfort of truth telling. You might not be the same after tonight because you might finally stop abandoning yourself, because you might choose your own knowing over other people's opinions, because you might decide that living authentically, even imperfectly, is better than performing a version of yourself that feels safe but empty. And that shift, that choice, that commitment to yourself, that's what changes everything. Not external circumstances, though those might shift as a result. Not other people's behavior, though that might change too. But your internal relationship with yourself, your truth, your worth, that's where real transformation lives. May you have the courage to see what needs to be seen tonight. May you have the wisdom to trust what you know. May you have the strength to honor yourself even when it's hard. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Trust your inner knowing above everything else. You are more powerful than you realize, more capable than you believe, more deserving than you've been allowing yourself to receive. And tonight might be when you finally start believing that, or it might be just another night in a long journey of becoming. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be. Stay present, stay honest, stay true to yourself, and remember that you are never walking this path alone, even in the quietest moments when it feels like you are. You've got this. Whatever tonight brings, whatever clarity emerges, whatever changes need to happen, you've always had this. Trust that. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.